Hello and welcome to Anything Goes. Hope you're doing all right out there. Somewhere, I think Jason's here. I'm not. Hello, Jason.
Oh,
You there?
oh, oh,
Uh,
how did that get there?
what's that?
What? Oh, I don't. Oh, it's a book apparently, as if by magic. Oh, it's my new book. I just got the
Oh,
shipment in this week,
are we
actually. So
talking about that
my
first then?
personal copies, yeah.
Go
Mhm.
on then. We'll talk about that first then.
Yeah, might as well. I was just
Well,
surprised it magically appeared there. Oh,
it's
look at
just
that.
yeah.
Yeah. It's also available on Barnes and Nobles, I've come to learn, so I need to add that on to that advertisement.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, no. It comes out October 5th officially. Um you can buy Amazon, Barnes and Noble will have it. I think the problem is most places you'll have to do it online, but if you're in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, you can buy them there. You can buy them at Costco. You can buy them at HEB. But outside of that, you'll probably want to stick to Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But yeah, October 5th.
Brilliant. Well, what's it about?
Well,
Let's, you know.
actually, it's pretty straightforward. It's about all the weird things in the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex, right?
Okay.
As we initially talked about on the first time I came on this wonderful show, I had experience with a pterodactyl, with a living pterosaur in DeSoto, which is a suburb of Dallas. Our northern border is the city of Dallas, and one of the problems I had for literally 20 years, coming to grips with it was even though I learned that the people were seeing living pterosaurs and things like that, even in the state of Texas, my assumption was, okay, well, it's always somewhere else more exotic. It's someplace else. But no, there is a lot of really interesting things seen both in and around the Metroplex area, whether it's living pterosaurs or Bigfoot or some of the more paranormal entities. And then we have a few aquatic abnormalities showing up. Everything from, I like to say that they're more mundane, but we have giant catfish that people have talked about for years. Giant alligator gar that people that are significantly larger than what they're supposed to grow to. There's a thing it is believed that Lake Granbury, which is a backed up river, has what looks like a giant eel, European conger or European eel. People have seen many strange things, paranormal, physical. I have a story of an attack by a lechusa. I have people actually seeing goatmen. I have all kinds of things in and around the area. So it would have helped me out as a kid, being like, "Hold on, you're not entirely well. You may be crazy, but you weren't wrong about what you saw." So that's
Yeah.
really what we explore, and a little bit of the history, right? I'm a history buff. There's little things and tidbits about each town and city and like this, how did we get Fort Worth? How did we get the city of Dallas? Little tidbits about their growth and evolution over the 20th century as well. That was a lot of fun to drop in there.
So how did you get your accounts? Just research basically, or did you get any kind of personal accounts from people?
So several accounts are taken from other researchers that I spoke with, Nick Redfern being one, because he's actually in the area. Kent Hovind is one, and a few others. But by and large, a lot of these accounts came from just walking up to people randomly and asking questions. Several of these accounts actually were people that I knew, and they found out that I do what I do, and I just started asking, and then they would be like, "Well, here, let me tell you the story." And that was actually one of the impetuses for the book, where it was how many people started at just talking to me once they knew that I was, when I came out as a biblical paranormal researcher. They said, "Let me talk to you about what I saw." And I'm like, "I've known you for 20 years. How have you not told me this story?" But you know what? I didn't tell my story for a long time, and I think people were just finally, once I had, I guess, a title attached to it, they were willing. So that's sort of where a lot of this came from. But yeah, so a lot of it, so some of it is researchers and their accounts. I credit all of them, but a lot of it was just asking random people random questions. I got two different accounts of pterosaurs in actually going into the creek where I had my encounter, just because I was down in Italy, Texas, doing a signing for when I was doing mobile notaries, and I was getting something from a little store there, And I just asked the woman, she goes, actually, yeah, I had this encounter, and she tells me the story. So yeah, a lot of it was just doing the hard work of getting out there and asking people, and asking a lot of people really weird questions and getting really weird looks, but every once in a while getting a really interesting story.
Yeah, I think it must take something without coming outright with it to trigger people. It must be certain words, certain things that can trigger that memory, because I'm sure you kind of put it to the back of your mind, you know, your encounter. You get on with your life, don't you? But every now and again it pops up. But then, you know, I'd had this this sort of, I think it was a big cat following me or something one night, something growling. And we don't have any sort of anything legal over here that should be growling like that.
Right.
It was late at night, and I'd forgotten about it kind of, and until I started getting into Bigfoot. So there was about a 5-year gap in it, a 6-year gap, and someone was talking about growling or something. I was listening to something, and I was trying to imagine what it must feel like for those people. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I remember, you know, and it takes a trigger, doesn't it? Something to for people to even remember.
Oh, absolutely.
Incidents.
What I found is how often people will have an encounter with something and they won't even recognize it as strange per se. Like there was one of the stories I have about old One Eyes is sort of the nickname of the monster in Lake Granbury. Some of these we only have like 1 or 2 accounts, and so in some of these like the White Rock Lake Goatman, I actually and the Lake Granbury monster, I actually kind of like, even though I only have 1 or 2 accounts, that actually doubles the amount of information we have of public information, because that's one of the things I do is I discovered how often like there are creatures, there are sightings, but then we have this lore that grows up and you realize, hold on, this lore has nothing to do with this creature, right? And we can talk about that here in a little bit. But as far as your question of asking people, I just asked, you know, like the old One Eye one, it came down to somebody actually just saying, I asked him again at a store. I was showing him like, hey, have you seen anything weird? He goes, well, there was this one thing that happened. He tells me the story and it ends up in the book. And it's actually an amazing story. And I kind of ran it past some other people who are like, yeah, that's really bizarre. So it's one of those things where a lot of people, I think, even have these encounters, but because they aren't, there's a Bigfoot 5 feet from my face, right? They end up just dismissing it, even because they don't know enough to know that it's odd, right? But yeah, a lot of it just came down to asking weird questions of random people, getting a lot of weird responses, but being willing to ask the questions. And when they say why, say, look, I'm a biblical paranormal researcher. I'm working on a project. I'd like to, I'm here taking stories. And I had a booklet with me, I had a pen with me, and I took them down. And I got some really interesting things. I think it's one of those things where I think if a lot of us did that a lot more often, we could really get some interesting information, because I think a lot of people are having these encounters. They're just not seeing them. They're not recognizing them for what they are.
Yeah, sorry, I was just reading Strangeland. Yeah, I don't think that's a good story. I've just put the link in the chat for Jason's book. So go over to Amazon to pre-order. Now, this word pre-order, pre-book, is it what? It's so annoying, isn't it? Are you getting what I'm getting? Why do they do that?
I don't know. So I kind of asked this question. A lot of it is they kind of want to have a lead up, because obviously they take time to print, and so they have to print them in advance. Like I said, it's not coming out for another couple weeks, but I got my copies. They kind of want to, basically the publishers want to print out as close to as many as will sell as they can, right? They don't want to have a huge overage. So the pre-orders sort of help them a little bit with that. The runtime, right? Because they print up so much that they figure they can sell, but the pre-order kind of gives them a chance to do that. But also it kind of helps to promote, so people know the book is going to be available. So it has its functions. It's a little obnoxious, but unfortunately, it's the way the world works these days.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of explains it, I guess. But I still don't like the
Yeah.
way, especially when you say pre-booking something that you can just book anyway and go to. But anyway, just a shout out here to Andy Gone Fishing, who's had major surgery.
Oh, really?
Now on his way back from the Mayo Clinic, 20-hour drive through a lot of states. I can't remember how many states. So I hope you're doing all right, Andy. And also, you know, we forget, don't we, that it's not just the person going through what they've just been through, but the people that are looking after them, who take on a lot of stress and worry and, you know, stay strong. And they don't always get recognised. I'm sure Andy recognises exactly what his wife does for him, because she's the one driving back today. But, you know, we do forget, don't we, that there's a lot going on when someone's ill. So a shout out to Mrs. Gone Fishing.
Oh, absolutely.
I hope you have a safe journey home. So tonight I thought, I didn't really have time to plan a lot of things because I've been so busy with work. But now that's all kind of panning out, and I'm going to have more time to myself. And I thought, what can we talk about tonight? And I just thought, let me just try one of these random question generators.
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought this could be a bit of fun, maybe. So maybe we'll start with a bit of fun. It's got food involved in it, but it's not a, you know. Would you rather have a grapefruit-sized head, or a head the size of a watermelon?
All right, I'll answer that one. I'm gonna go with grapefruit-sized head because, well, yeah. Okay, so I think we're assuming that the head, we still retain intelligence, right? So if we're assuming that, I would go with the grapefruit-sized head because of water. Well, okay, what I'm assuming they're saying the big watermelon.
Size of brain, though. Size of brain. It's not going to be very big in a grapefruit, is it?
Well, here's the thing. Like, if the intelligence is a factor, then I'd go with the watermelon. But the thing is, I'm thinking just mobility. Like, you have a head that big, you're not moving anywhere, right? You know, whereas with, you know, but if intelligence does change the factor, then I'd go with the watermelon, right? Because then you'd be smarter theoretically.
I think so. I think you could, you know, you've got more to play with as well, haven't you? I mean, if you've got a little grapefruit head, you know, you need small towels and small bars of soap, aren't you? And that small toothbrush. I don't know, it could be. But I don't know. What do people think in the chat? Is it even worth thinking about? So this one here. At what age would you consider someone to be old?
I think this is an absolute variable until you hit about 60. Because I think when you're younger, you think 30 is old, right?
True.
So I think it's like you really don't, when you're a child, like under 10, anyone over 20 is old, right? Really, anyone over 15 is old. But one time you hit 10, I think it's a 20-year gap. It's every 20 years, that's old. But then every time you hit that next mark, it moves out 20 years from that, right? So when you're 40, no, it's 60 that's old. When you're 20, it's no, 50 is old. Or, you know, 40 or 50 is old. So I think it's sort of this. It's always 20 years older than where you are now, until you hit 60. Then at that point you're like, well, okay, maybe I am old. But even then, I think a lot of people say no, old's in their 80s, right? So I think it's always 20 years out.
It's a state of mind, isn't it? I think for some, and strange. I'm 80. Yeah, I think 80 is old.
I think by the time you hit 70, in your 70s, 80s, you kind of just have to admit that you're old.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, I think it's always 20 years from where you are is the demarcation for old.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at some of the other. I think, you know, some of us take on roles, don't we, in life? And you know, if you get married, if you have kids, you become a mother, become a wife, then you become a grandma. Suddenly, when you're a grandma, maybe not this generation, but maybe a generation before, suddenly you have to start dressing like your grandma used to dress. And it's and I kind of think people age with roles rather than just think, you know, you're 30 in your head all the time. Because I think, you know, at what age do people get to where they just feel like they're one age? Like the numbers are going up, but actually in your head, you think, well, you know, I think I'm only 40, maybe a bit younger in my head. I don't know. Well, where are you at? You're quite young anyway. You're still in your 30s, aren't you?
Not for only for another 2 weeks, I think. It's October 8th. So October 8th, I officially crossed the demarcation of 40. I would like to know I would like to figure out at what point I'm supposed to stop caring about what other people think. Although I think I'm coming very close to hitting that point. Maybe I guess the question of maturity is, at what point do you realize other people's opinions don't matter to you? Now, that's not that you don't consider the people's feelings, or not that you don't consider opinions on a matter, but about you, where they're like, it's like, I don't care. I'm just going to go do what I want to do. I think that's sort of the demarcation for true maturity. It's when you can look at somebody and be like, piss off, I'm done. Right? Because it's like, I'm sorry. What?
Is that a swear word?
It's not a swear. It's not, certainly not a sswear word there. You know that. No.
It is here.
It is not.
You would not have a kid say that here. If you're a kid, you get a clout around the ear. Maybe not physically, but you know.
Well, there are lots of things the kids would get yelled at for saying. It's a mature word, but it's not, it doesn't break PG, so I'm good.
I'm just gonna let it roll over. Just got my head that way.
You know what? I'll send you a book. We'll call that
brilliant. That'll do. Yeah. That'll do. That's a bargain.
There you go.
So sorry. Go on.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, that's. I think maturity is when you can look at the rest of the group and say, "I'm done. I'm out. I'm not doing this. This is where I stand." Again, not that you're looking at someone's opinions and being like, "I don't," not that you don't care about them as an individual, but rather you're like, "I'm not going to let you determine what I do." Right? I think that's sort of like the demarcation for maturity. I think most people takes a long time to figure that out. And I don't know, maybe we never really fully leave that stage, but I think we get closer to it. The more we've lived, the more we realize, hold on, no one knows what they're talking about, right? Like once you kind of get that, you're like, all right, I got to figure this out on my own. I think that's so. I think maybe that's the beginning of maturity, not necessarily the beginning of old age or anything, but that's the beginning of maturity. And unfortunately, I think many people hit it at various stages. I think the reason we get the 70-year-old, get off my lawn, is because they finally hit that point, right?
Yeah. Funnily enough, Zach, how you doing? Grandma is 92, still mows her yard, and is a child at heart. Just saying. A lot of oldies are. It's just a state of mind, isn't it? Literally, just what you think.
I think there's a difference between being old. The problem is, I think we associate old age with infirmity, and that's not necessarily the same thing, right? Being old doesn't necessarily mean that you're infirm. It just means you've lived a long time, and now hopefully there's some wisdom that comes with it. But I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of people who are running around 50, 60, and I'm like, how have you survived this long? But that's a whole other kettle of fish. We're aware.
Harry. Yeah.
Oh, we're aware.
One day. No, I'd stay as you are. Stay as you are. Grow old, but don't grow up. Yeah, that's a good saying, isn't it? So now this one is a little bit silly, I think. If you think about the first part of the question, it's like pretty dumb if you ask me. How did you get your name? Christmas cracker? It's like, obviously my parents gave me my name. Do you know the meaning of your name?
Okay, so the second half I do. The first one I do as well, but I kind of since many of our listeners are probably not Anglophiles in the same way that I am, the idea of what a Christmas cracker may not necessarily translate into American parlance. You may want to explain that one.
So do you not have a Christmas crackers at Christmas?
No, we
right.
don't.
It's not something that you eat. A Christmas cracker is like a thing that you pull. I'm going to try and get a picture of it. It's like if you can imagine a toilet roll tube, and someone's put like fancy paper around it and put like bows at the end. But someone pulls one end and you pull the other, and it snaps in half because you cut the toilet. People make them, and there'll be like a little joke in there. There'll be a little toy in there, and you have them at Christmas. You pull a cracker with someone.
I've seen Doctor Who, so I know what a Christmas cracker is.
Right, okay.
But I'm just saying, a lot of people may not.
Might not. Well, I'll get a picture now.
Yep.
We'll see. So you can make your own out of empty loo roll holders. I don't know if I can get a picture.
An American equivalent would be sort of our fortune cookies, but they're made. But these things are, but we eat the cookie. But the Christmas crackers, they're made of paper, and you pop them, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've just never done it. Yeah. Although I like blowing things up, so I'm okay with it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, you can get really rubbish ones that don't snap, or if they do, you never get the half. It's always the other person, and then it doesn't work properly. But I'll put a picture up now. And so, yeah, the more money you spend on these, the better quality of gifts as well that you get. You generally get something like, like nail clippers or a pair of dice or some blackjack. That Skittles game, is it called blackjack with the little Skittles and the thing?
Yeah.
So basically, you just pull this one, from each end. There's a little snap, little tape thing that snaps as well when you do it. And so, yeah, when you say, did you get something out of a Christmas cracker, it's kind of a little sarcastic tone, obviously, because it's just plastic monkey, and the moustache. Always get a moustache, little black moustache you can put on.
So an equivalent saying to that would be in America, did you get it out of a Cracker Jack box?
Okay.
Do you know what Cracker Jacks are? Or?
Nope.
Okay. They're a snack item. They like the toys, the things they have in them now are kind of lame, but it's basically just little, and they come in these boxes, and you'd open them. They used to have like toys, right? So they were always cheap little plastic or metal toys like jacks or ball or a ring or whatever. So it was sort of like it's the cheap thing, right? So yeah, we have that same an equivalent saying. Yes, obviously our parents gave them, but why did your parents name you Daniela? Is there a story behind it?
No, not as far as I know, other than I know my dad wanted me to be called after my grandma, which was Angela. My mum didn't want me to be called Angela, so they came up with Daniela. But I know it means God is my judge. Yes,
I believe it's the feminine form of that. Mine actually comes from Jason the Argonauts. It had come out, and they just like the name Jason, so they went with that. Mine means healer, or one who heals.
Oh, right. Oh, I didn't know that.
Which is interesting because my middle name Garrett is actually my mom's surname, but just as a name, since Garrett is also a name, it means strong spear. So I have this weird duality with my first name and last name, or first name and middle name. My last name means son of a devotee of St. John.
Right, I didn't know that. Oh yeah, well I wouldn't know that because it's not my name.
Exactly. Well, that's what I was saying. I'm like, how did you get that from? It's like, I get the Mick Mac, that's son or sons of, but like how does Lynn become devotee of St. John? Like what the heck? How did that get in there? But apparently somebody somewhere decided that was the case. So okay, I mean, I wasn't there when they were deciding, so.
Exactly. We didn't have a choice, did we? Didn't have a lot of choice when you're born.
Well, particularly surnames, because that's the family you're born into. So I don't, I mean, I think it's a good surname. I like it. It's mine.
Did you ever want to change your first name though?
I would, yes, actually, and I would have changed it to Alexander, but just because I think Alex sounds better, and Alexander, I mean, it's a grand name. But I think I'm kind of okay with Jason, all things considered.
Yeah, it's a good name. As good as any, I think, you know. Kerry says, my name means cows people. Is that?
I have no idea who CR is. Okay, interesting.
Sierra.
Or maybe Caesar's people? I don't know.
There's a typo there, isn't it? He's usually quite good with his spelling.
Mm-hmm.
He's usually on the ball with his spelling. So let me just have a look. Yeah, Zach says you look like a Jason. So
well, then they, yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah. Right. So let's see another one. This is quite a hard one. What's your least favourite part of the day?
Like days in general, or very specific days?
Your day.
Least favorite. 3 o'clock.
Precisely.
Precisely that 2:30, 3:30 range, right? Because like you kind of want to go take a siesta, right, and just sort of ramp up for the rest of the day because you're kind of sluggish. And until you get through all that, like it's like you have this big, just like I'm wasted and out, and then you got to get her back up for the rest of the day. But it's like it's right there, that 2:30, 3:30 range. I'm just wasted for the day, but it's like I still got another 2 hours of work to do. At my normal job, then I got more stuff to do. So I think that's my worst time because you feel useless and you're trying to work through it.
Yeah, I don't really get that because we don't have that heat here, and we don't have that. It's heat as well, isn't it? It makes you tired, and I guess you feel it more. I think for me, it's coming home after work and having to make dinner, and I just can't be bothered. You know, it's just like been working all day. I'd just like to get that bit over with. Could have like a chef or someone turn up, cook me a meal, maybe do a bit of housework for me, and then I could get on with the rest of the evening. That would probably do it for me. So, someone's asking us a question.
Okay,
42. If you could say one thing to a Sasquatch, what would it be?
Ooh, Danielle, I'll let you go first. I'm gonna think about this one.
I don't know. Something like "Don't hurt me."
Yeah, that was actually my first. Like, please don't eat me.
Yeah, I mean, we need a bit more to this. Is it like obvious that this Sasquatch can understand us? And
I mean, the obvious, I think, conceit is the Sasquatch can talk to you even if they normally can't. This one can, and he's not going to eat us. Let's give them that conceit that the Sasquatch can actually answer, and he's not he or she. I don't want to be sexist. Is planning on not eating us. So given those conceits, what would you ask him? So just informationally.
What are you? What else would you want to know at this point? I think that would be the first.
Yeah.
It's an intelligent and non-threatening Squatch. Yeah.
Like I just said, yeah. What are you? Where do you come? Yeah. See, because really, I mean, those are the great philosophical questions, right? Like it's who are you? Where do you come from? I mean, really, I think once you've kind of answered those, then the third one is where are you going? Right? I mean, those are the three big questions of life. Who are you? Where do you come from? And where are you going? So as long as I think we're all going to ask one of those three questions, really.
Kerry's got one here. I think he means really. His spelling's really, I think he's, must have got some butter on his fingers or something that's slipping off. Can you really heal people? Yeah, that is a good question because quite a lot of people are claiming that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Having healing from Sasquatch. So
healing, telepathy. So again, it goes back to sort of the question I think we've been asking on Texas shows, like how do we, how do we? Is there a separation between these paranormal things and Sasquatch, or is there something masquerading as Sasquatch that is paranormal, or is Sasquatch paranormal? Like, I think we can no longer ignore the fact that there is a paranormal stuff that exists and is associated with this phenomena. So we just need to ask, is it because Sasquatch is a physical creature and there's paranormal stuff following it? Is it paranormal itself? Is paranormal stuff hiding as Sasquatch? I don't know, but that's a big question to ask.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I'm just assuming Sasquatch's name is Daryl, or at least one is. I mean, Andy gone fishing.
Yeah. The chances that one's called it is going to be pretty slim, isn't it? So
yeah.
If you could only ask one question, I'd make it count. If you could. That's an interesting concept. Leave a large pair of boots in the woods. I mean, what size are we talking?
Yeah.
Do they even make boots big enough for a Sasquatch? Has anyone's feet been as big as any cast?
No. Now they do make these really, really large sneakers for large people. You have to special order them, but they'll make them. In fact, sometimes there are people who are they're rather poor, but they have these just unusually large feet. They'll make them for free and send it to them.
What about clowns? I mean, clowns always need big boots, don't they? They have big feet.
Well, yeah, but they're still narrow. Like, I think they'd be way too narrow for Sasquatch, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Central Florida Bigfoot, he would just say, "Hello, are you friendly?" And then take it from there.
Yeah. But you only get the one question, though. That's not, we've already given you the conceit that he's not going to eat you or kill you. So,
yeah, it would really have to count, wouldn't it? The question that you ask. So,
Bigfoot Odyssey has the greatest response, right?
What's he? He'd reply, "Yes, Andy."
Okay, you have to be a Bob Newhart fan to get that joke, but no, yeah, Bigfoot Odyssey. Can I get a selfie? Yeah, I think that may be the best question.
That one. Can we coexist?
Well, it seems like we're doing a pretty, we're doing a pretty good job of coexisting right now. So,
now this one. If you found $100 on the ground, what would you do with it?
Okay, so something like this has happened to me. It wasn't $100 though, but my first response is always to look around and ask if there's sort of look around and just text, is there any way to find the original owner of the cash?
There's nobody there. There's nobody there. It's a park. It's empty. There's $100.
Right. It's so assuming that there's no one. I'm just saying what's happened. If no one can be found. Honestly, that $100 is probably going to pay some kind of a bill somewhere. But if we didn't have to pay a bill, you know what? There's deep cut here. There was a show on television called Babylon 5. It is, from my account, it was created by J. Michael Straczynski. It's one of the greatest television shows of all time. They had these little guns. They were called PPGs that everyone had running around the station security, whatever. There is a guy who makes replicas of them, and they are amazing. They're like $60. I'd buy one of those.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I'd probably do the same. If it was obvious there was no one around, what are you going to do? I don't know. But mind you, where I live, it's a much smaller place, so chances are there'll be someone
right exactly
to it, and it would be there.
It's like I'm out in the desert and this $100 bill blows past my way. Yeah, I'll and again, assuming no bills to pay at the moment, then yeah, I'd probably do something like that.
Give it back if you can. Buy hundreds worth of groceries for a needy family. Yeah.
Hold on. Stop sucking up and making yourself look good, Carrie. We know you're drinking right now.
Dr. Pepper.
Uh-huh.
Andy, no, he did that from his dog. He was inspired by his dog, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Jason.
Yeah. And here's the thing: the Chewbacca we got is not the original design of Chewbacca. Everyone, so okay, I'm a nerd. This is my wheelhouse. You're going to get overly nerded. You put a quarter in the jukebox. You're going to have to let this play. So he came up with the idea, but he did not design these creatures. He did not. There were a number of designs that were put forward. Chewbacca was based on his dog, but he had a team of effects people putting things together, and they had a bunch of different designs. They actually used one of the original designs in one of the more recent cartoon shows that they did called Rebels. One of the characters is sort of based on that original look for the Wookiees. They looked very different, right? About the only thing that he had in that original script was that they were very, very large and hairy. Dark Horse actually did they did the original the Star Wars script, and they turned it into a comic book using a lot of these initial designs by McQuarrie. He's the artist who actually not only did he work on it, he did the famous painting of Legend of Boggy Creek, the poster. That Ralph McQuarrie was a brilliant artist. He's a hero of mine, honestly. But they used a lot of McQuarrie's designs in this comic book, and it's a very different film if they had made it the way he wrote the initial script. But a lot of these characters looked very different. So, unfortunately, he was not stumbling through the woods and came across a Sasquatch and turned him into Chewbacca. Although they did take special precautions when they were filming Return of the Jedi, because they were in the Pacific Northwest. No, they were in California. So they were in California, and they had all these big, massive trees. And they're out there. They had to take special precautions because they were worried about somebody shooting Peter Mayhew while he was running out there in full costume. So just a little something I know
A little
back in my head. Little tidbit. Unfortunately, I have a very misspent youth, so I know all kinds of weird and completely useless facts about Star Wars.
Well, tonight you managed to showcase all that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it was worth it.
Just for this one moment in time.
Exactly. Right. That's what it's all about. That's what hoarding's about, isn't it? Is saving as much as you can, because one day you'll need it, and you just proved that in a way. Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Jay Birch, how you doing, Jay? Anyone else smoking salmon and barbecuing cheeseburgers? Oh my God.
Not right now. Okay, hold on. Not right now, but my friend, the friends who are sort of teaching me the ways of smoking, holy crap, he smokes the best salmon. It is a near religious experience. It is. I was like, smoking salmon? Why would you want to, salmon doesn't seem like something you want to smoke per se, but man, I can't tell you how good it is.
We get smoked salmon here. So we get it's very thin slices of salmon.
Right. Yes.
Raw, just smoked.
Yeah.
And then you can get salmon fillets, from a whole thing. So do you have that there then, smoked?
We do. Yes. So yeah, what you're talking about, the thin, they're basically raw, but they have a smoky flavor. That's one thing. But we're talking about these actual slabs, the thick cut slabs of salmon that are smoked, so they're actually fully cooked. Right. I was like, that's not how you would treat salmon. But man, let me tell you, it is. I was proven completely and very happily wrong with that. It is amazing.
That does sound very, very tasty. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. I'm missing some. There's been some funny comments. Black Trinity's a smoked salmon dealer.
Okay. So off of that joke, there was this episode of the Beverly Hillbillies, where do you know what the Beverly Hillbillies? Okay, I figured that they had made it over the pond, but so there was this episode where Jethro falls in with a bunch of hippies, and he was talking about smoking crawfish, and so he has them, and they're like, "Man, you smoke crawfish, man? That's wild!" Of course, it is one of the weirdest in greatest episodes they ever did, because it's just this idea of that there's these guys are following because they think that they're going to smoke crawfish. It's funny.
That was on in the 80s, kind of like in the 80s. I grew up with that on the telly. Not seen it since. Like, you know, I guess it's still over there. But yeah, I used to like that. Now this
Carrie,
one,
hold on, Carrie. We call them crawdads too. I was trying to be more, crawdads. Mud puppies is what we call the. I just forgot their proper name now. So they're like salamanders. Yeah, they're salamanders that you would use to fish for bass sometimes, and we would call those mud puppies. But yeah, crawdads, water bugs. Yeah, we're good.
Paul Holland, eggs Benedict. I love that.
I've never had eggs Benedict.
Amazing. This is a difficult one. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Okay, I have two answers to this, because the first answer is, let me go with the answer to the question for me is, if it's the caveat, I'm assuming this question means one specific dish, right? So it's one.
No, it says one food.
Okay, so if we take that, I have actually opted for Chipotle. So Chipotle is well, hold on. The Chipotle burrito. So the Chipotle burrito is something that you assemble on a conveyor, like in a line, right? So it's a burrito, but it can also be a bowl, and you can switch out the different things. So if it's food, that's a much broader term. I'm thinking Chipotle, because you can switch up the flavor profiles, you can switch up what you get, so you never really get bored. Because fundamentally, my argument is, it doesn't matter what you pick. You're always going to get, it's always going to be, at some point, no matter how much you love that food, if it's the only thing you eat, you will hate it. You will come to resent it. So it doesn't matter what you pick. So that's why I kind of went with Chipotle, because there's some flexibility there. You can sort of change up your profiles. So
chocolate. I think would you not get bored of chocolate after a bit, Rita? I think you would.
Yeah.
I like nuts. I think I get bored of nuts as well.
Mm-hmm. If you eat any food often enough, you will come to hate it, no matter how much you love it.
Yeah, I think so. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Peanut butter and banana sandwich. Yeah, that's you can love on that. That sounds interesting. It's like an aphrodisiac, is that, or something? Let's see if anyone else is saying. Someone said pizza. Yeah, pizza. It has to have salad with pizza. If you can have pizza, definitely have to have a salad with it. Just
as long as you could vary the kind of pizza that you order and the toppings, I think that would be a solid question as well.
We know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. So I've run out of questions, so I'm just going to look for another one. Unless anyone in the chat can think of an interesting one.
Hold on. Are you going with pizza and salad? Is that your argument, or
no? Hang on. Let me think. We could only have one food, so we can have like a dish, can we?
That I will. Yeah, that's sort of that's why I kind of went with Chipotle, because like you can vary up what you actually get in it. But yeah, let's say one dish, like a. Now, if we're talking about like a genre of food, then I'm going to go with Mexican or Tex-Mex every time. Period. End of story.
Genre of food, yeah.
So genre, I'm way more open to, because you're fine. But if you're talking about one specific kind of like pizza, but you can change up where you're getting it and the toppings. Okay, then pizza, or whatever. So that's how I'm taking it. It's like it's one specific dish, but you could vary toppings and ingredients.
Yeah. Okay. So quesadillas. But I've got to have the creme fraiche and the salsa with it as well. Otherwise, it's just no point.
Hold on, creme fraiche. Is that what you call sour cream?
Yeah, you can use either, but I get the creme fraiche sometimes.
That's fine.
Just,
yeah,
because that's all they've got. Just same thing, isn't it? So I think, maybe those, or spaghetti bolognese.
Ooh.
With fried aubergines on top and
Fried
parmesan.
what?
Aubergines.
I have no idea what that is.
Aubergine is an eggplant. We call it.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
The real word it should be called. All
right. I see how it's going to be.
We've got
I see how you're playing.
Someone joining us. Hello.
You guys are having too much fun.
Yeah,
we are.
Sorry about that.
Oh, I didn't mean to throw you down to the bottom there.
That's fine.
You've got something playing in the background, Kerry.
Do I? Oh, damn.
It's fine.
It's a bad day.
Do you want to go through these questions?
Yeah, I've got one.
Okay.
If you have a conversation with one person, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh. Okay, and I'm assuming that regardless of the language barrier, we can still understand each other, right?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to make this harder on myself because I think the obvious one would be Jesus, but I think that's cheating because it's almost too obvious. So excluding, major religious figures, dang it, that's a good one. You know what? Honestly, Rembrandt van Rijn.
Okay.
Any particular reason why?
He's an artist.
Oh. See?
This is like the fifth
Bible.
book I have of the guy. Trust me, by the way, this is an excellent one. It's called Rembrandt the Painter at Work. If you're interested, this is a great resource. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Rembrandt. I actually Vincent van Gogh, when he I think had the best quote about Rembrandt. He said, Rembrandt chews the meat. I smell the gravy. Rembrandt, from my perspective, was one of the greatest Baroque painters to have ever existed. He had a great understanding and use of that brush in a way that no one else ever has. So it'd be Rembrandt.
Mm.
I asked my wife that question, my ex-wife, my first ex-wife, and she said the living one. So of course you can't talk to a dead person. How stupid of me.
Yeah. That's great.
Oh, she did. Look. Oh, I got stories. I would say Beethoven. I'd say Beethoven, but he was deaf. He couldn't hear me. So,
well, again, it goes back to the conceit, right? I mean, if we can cross language barriers, then I think we're just, the conceit is you can communicate with this person.
I'd say Mozart at 12 years old.
Before he's written everything.
No, he started at 5.
Oh, well, that's true. But I mean, Mozart, at 12, I know, one of his greatest, that was one of his greatest pieces, but you want to do before he's really done the bulk of his work.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I find that interesting. Why so early? Because I'd want to talk to old Rembrandt.
Because I think I could actually learn something from him.
Okay.
I don't think he would be too good to teach me anything. Mozart was he was just elevated above everyone else.
Mm-hmm. Miley,
got something going on there, Danielle? I didn't mean to butt in, y'all. I just couldn't help it. I'm sitting here bored to death.
No, it's fine. I mean, we got 15 minutes to fill, so I'm cool with it.
I'm surprised. I mean, would you not want to talk to one of your family members that's passed, or someone you knew, a friend? You're going to people that you don't know. Dog. Shut up.
That's interesting. Just give her a kick. She'll be all right.
Shut up.
So honestly, my position on that is all the family members I want to talk to, I know I'll see when I die eventually. So I'm good.
Well, you could kind of say that about everybody else.
Well, you could, but I mean, I think the idea is this would need to be something that would be overly useful. Okay, so you know what? This is an interesting thing. Maybe something can take away from this conversation is my parents kind of had a really good taught me really to actually be open and communicative with with us and talk. It's like, look, you have that conversation because you really don't know. I think there was just, they had lost enough people in their lives. They're like, never ever leave something unsaid, right? And be straightforward and honest with people, because the one thing I've seen people who they really couldn't make peace with their loved ones before they passed, whether expectedly or unexpectedly, and they left a lot of things unsaid. That'll mess you up harder than anything else. So they drilled that into me at a very young age. Like, look, you be open and honest with everyone. Tell them how you feel, honestly, and if you love and care for them, tell them that while they're around, because you don't know when someone's last day is, and so. And like you said,
picking one, I think that would be my issue.
Yeah.
I had a question that pops up in my head sometimes, because I do care work, and you hear about different people and different illnesses and stuff. And because of my experience with my mum, who had cancer and died of cancer, and it's funny that I had a friend who 2 weeks after my mum died, his mum died from basically dementia. And I just wondered, what's the hardest thing to go through, knowing you're going to die, or suddenly not remembering. I watched Glenn Campbell, documentary about Glenn Campbell, and he had it's amazing documentary about him, and he had Alzheimer's, I think, and there was a really slow kind of decline, and then suddenly he doesn't recognize his daughter, and there was all sorts going on, and you just wonder just what you're saying is that you need to talk to people and tell people how you feel, because either one of those situations, you can suddenly lose your ability to do that.
So what's the question? Knowing when you're going to die, or knowing you're about to die, or losing
your sense of who you are. And I'm talking about everybody, that's involved in that as well, not just the person. I mean,
it's kind of both, isn't it? With Alzheimer's,
I think so.
With Alzheimer's, it's both, because you're going to die soon, and now you're not going to be able to remember anybody when you do. How bad is that? That's But you have to realize, and someone has to tell you while you still have some of your faculties that, hey, you have Alzheimer's, and it's just a matter of time. I think I might dispatch myself at that point. Yeah,
it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's a really difficult one.
Actually, there was someone who I can't remember who it was. It was actually he was a scholar. I'm trying to remember his name. I'm terrible with names, so that's never going to be an indication for me. But no, there was a gentleman. He was a scholar. It was a few years ago. He got that. He was told that he had Alzheimer's, and he straight up, he went ahead and offed himself, and it hurt a lot of people. I mean, I think the problem is there's no easy way to do that. And I think even with something like that, it's like whether you go through it or you decide to end it soon. Either way, that's still painful for everyone around you. I don't know that there is an easy way out.
No, I don't think there is an easy way out. It's just, just makes you think about, I don't know, just the work I do, and you have to, what you're on with Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew.
Oh, and water.
Well, there you go.
A cocktail, something.
I just kind of go back and forth.
Water down, Mountain Dew. So let's think of
we end up something happier than this question.
Yeah, let's kind of
that was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, but these are what things people think about. I do. Maybe I'm just weird.
I can tell you the ridiculous stuff my ex-wife used to do. A couple of them. She was Filipino, so her thought process was completely different than most people's. We were married for 17 years, and it never changed. We had she would do things like, she thought everything should be intuitive, right? Now we're talking about, she graduated salutatorian in HTML and computer programming. Okay, so she was that kind of smart.
Mhm.
But common sense was almost completely zero. I heard her on the phone one day, and someone asked her what size shoes she wore. And she, she spoke Tagalog all her life, and she spoke English really well. Didn't have much of an accent really, but her answer was, for shoe size, she says, sometimes I'll wear a 5, sometimes I'll wear a 530. What do you think about that? She was equating a half hour to a half size, right? So she calls me one day and she says, my bank card doesn't work. Something's wrong with my bank card. I was like, well, did you call the bank? She said, yeah, they can't help me either. I was like, well, what's happening? She said, well, every time I put my number in, this little star comes up. I can't see my number. I said, that's not a star. That's an asterisk. And they put that on there so the person behind you can't see your number. She said, that's what the bank said. But it happens whether anybody's behind me or not.
Oh dear.
Look, we had to have physics.
Okay, that's a
What's
that's the
that?
greatest thing I've ever heard.
Or
What?
can we hear something? Is it me or you?
I don't hear anything.
Oh, it's me. Here we go.
Okay.
We were watching the Super Bowl, right? It was 1996 Super Bowl, Dallas Cowboys and Pittsburgh Steelers. And they were announcing everybody, and the announcers are talking about Pro Bowler. Who was the quarterback? Troy Aikman. Pro Bowler Troy Aikman. She looked at me, she said, they bowl too? I was like, no. Not a Pro Bowler. The Pro Bowl, for those that don't know, the Pro Bowl is like All-Stars for football. So that was her thought process, was just like that. If I put ice in my glass one day, and then I filled it up with whatever it was, and the ice was over the rim, right? And she was like, you need to drink that because it's going to melt and overflow. So we had a long discussion about displacement after that. So it was just little things like that she would do. She just didn't understand. Did not understand. That was the wife I had when I had my encounter, by the way. That's how I was able to spend 300 days a year in the woods. She just didn't care.
I see.
So it had its ups and downs, is what you're saying.
Right. We stayed together 5 more years after that. So
just having a look to see if there's any more
yes,
questions
Chad.
and stuff. Chad. So look, I'll get one more question up, and then maybe we should.
I'm gonna dip out and let you guys have your show.
Okay. Well, thanks for popping in. And
Yeah, thanks
Hold on,
for
Danielle.
having me.
Does that depend on the question? Okay, fine, Carrie. Escape. Escape then. I thought Danielle was going to have a great question. Come on.
What is it?
Okay. What is it?
You
What's it
got
going to be? Come on, Danielle.
I've lost it. Hang on. Just wait. Please wait.
Please tell me it's all asterisks.
It was quite funny. Hang on. Let me see if I can just get it up again. No, I can't find it. I can't remember. Oh, here we go. What's the worst thing about your gender?
I can't think of anything.
I can't either. I can't imagine why there would be anything better than being male, really.
Okay, is that your final answers?
I think as a whole,
I found it.
the male. We're talking about 2 genders here, right? Male and female.
About your gender.
Well, I'm a male.
I'll speak for
I'm a male. I'm not anything. I'm not a zer or anything like that. Not trying to disrespect anyone, but that's I'm a guy. I'm a male. I would have to say men as a whole are pretty overbearing. I think we can be to a degree, but that's not with each other. That's just with women.
I think that's fair.
I think that would be a view that women would have of men. You know, look, I am not the boss at my house. freely admit that. Linda Joyce wears the pants. Period. I'm good with it. So I don't really, but I'm still overbearing, I think, in a sense. You know, I get to, I control the remote.
Mm-hmm.
She controls what we watch, but I get the,
turn it over.
Yeah, she tells me what to watch, and I'm the remote pretty much at home. So I don't get to decide any of that when we have time to watch anything.
Jason, can you find any?
Okay, all joking aside, I think I would probably have to say the inability, and I don't know that this is necessarily a gender thing, but I think it is. I think it is harder for men to admit when they're wrong.
Yeah, that's
and listen. Yeah, like I said, I don't think that's definitely not a gender thing specifically, but I do think it's easier to change the mind of, say, a woman than a man, right? Because once a man has put like his reputation on something, it's much harder to change his mind on it. And I think that is the thing that has caused more problems in, at least in my life, if not the rest of the world. But definitely, it's, you know, when you're wrong and you're holding on to it because you can't admit it. I think that's the thing that frustrates me the most about my particular gender.
Linda Joyce is not going to admit she's wrong. I've listened. I hope she's not watching. I've learned to just humor her. Really. You know, there's no point in arguing. We don't argue anyway. But if I know she's wrong, I just don't. You know.
You got to pick and choose your battles. Definitely. Like it's like just okay. I can live with it.
Yeah.
So absolutely,
I can't do that. I can't.
So Danielle,
pound my point home.
There's a joke there. So Danielle, what's the worst thing about being female?
Putting up with men.
Okay, here.
What did I say?
Hold on.
See?
Hold on. I was gonna make that joke, but so here's the thing. You make that joke, everyone's okay with it. I make that joke, I'm the sexist.
Right.
Yeah.
Live with it, man.
Yeah.
We all have to.
Yeah.
There's got to be worse things. I couldn't look at. This is what I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine being a female, even though it is a miracle that women can create a person with their body and then feed that person with their body, you know, but having to go through that monthly ordeal that you have to go through until you reach a certain age, I suppose. After that, it's all gravy, I suppose. But that would have to. That I just couldn't imagine if that would be my answer if that happened to me, to men. That would definitely be my answer. The worst thing about it. So, is it not that bad, really?
Well, you know, we're tough. We're tough.
That's true. Women have a higher threshold for pain.
We just get on with it. We just get on with it. That's the thing. We don't get man flu. We don't get any of those serious things that you guys get, you know, thankfully. We just, you know, and when we do, we just soldier on through. And this is something I've said it before, when we're wrong, it's for the right reason. So always remember that. It's always for the right reason, okay?
I apologize, Carrie. You should have bounced out earlier.
Yeah, I should have.
Yep. Yeah. No, so this is again me saying I can admit when I was wrong. Yeah, I pulled you into this. I admit it. It's my fault.
Well, I mean, this is the end of the show anyway, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
We are going live tonight, by the way.
Oh, right.
You got Leon Mohan,
cool.
And Alex Petikoff. We're going to have some decent discussions tonight.
What time is that then?
9:30 p.m. Central.
Okay.
All right. Nice. Sounds like a plan.
4 a.m. for Danielle. 4:30 a.m.
Wow. Daniela, you are so delusional.
Bill, you can call me now.
So thanks everyone. Thanks, Kerry.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
I enjoyed it.
Good.
Thank you, Daniela.
Everyone go and check out Jason's book. It's in the description. Go to Amazon, pre-order it. I'm waiting for my free copy because Jason swore before. So he's going to make it up with the book, which rhymes. So that's good. And
I'll tell Linda to buy that. Linda buys all the books. So
good.
except for Dr. J's. She didn't buy it.
No, I didn't. Oh,
She wouldn't.
She
literally buys everybody's book that comes on the show.
I was going to buy the second one, and I thought, nah,
But
not
she
going to bother.
She didn't buy his.
No. So this is true. For females, if they are intelligent and speak their mind, they are a bitch. If they have a quiet personality, they are reduced to a hun and sweetie. Men are perceived in many more shades. It's true, isn't it? Look at me. In a way, I speak my mind, and it doesn't always go down well.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of goes against the term "stupid bitch," doesn't it?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Well, bitch.
Because I've met some of those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so hold on. I think there is a profound difference here. I do think this is an overstatement. There are plenty of women who will speak their minds, and no one would ever say that. I think it's more about how you say. But this is for everyone. How you say a thing is more important than what you say. And I think the problem is most women who become assertive, they bring a lot of anger to it, and that absolutely is why you get that, because there are plenty of very strong women that no one will talk bad about at all. And no, it's like if you were to call them that, there's 100 men who line up behind them who would that line would go around the block to beat the crap out of you for saying that.
I'd be in that line. I would be in that line. But I think you're talking about feminists. Okay, I'll go after I drop that bomb.
Yeah, see you, Kerry.
Hit the eject button.
That's a grenade. See ya.
Yeah, we might chat about that next time. So anyway, go and check out Bigfoot Odyssey in an hour and a half, 2 hours. I can't remember. I can't work out. Sunday night. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here.
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
But you should be subscribed, and you should hit that notification bell anyway. So
I did not get a notification for this show.
Oh,
you know what? People didn't get a notification for my Sunday broadcast either. So I don't know. Maybe there's something going on with YouTube.
I went and checked. I'll re-hit the bell and everything.
When I put your comment, I put that comment short and sweet because when I saw it, it was only lasted 1 minute 6 seconds. That's why I wrote short and sweet. It just said hello, and then it went off. So it must have not processed yet.
Yeah.
Because it was early in the morning, maybe 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning for me. I think you'd done it about an hour earlier, so maybe it took a while to process. But anyway, we're just waffling now. Thanks, everyone. I'll see you over in the research report on Wednesday and back here at the weekend with Jason and maybe Jay for Bigfoot Cafe. Until then, good night, everyone.